Very warm welcome to Meaningful Connect. Today we have with us Prasoon Kumar, the marketing head of Magic Bricks. The brand has gone through its own roller coaster journey these past few months. So join us on this conversation with Prasoon to understand his experience, his views, and way forward as a brand custodian for Magic Bricks. How would you describe the past few months that we've all gone through from a marketer's lens? As Magic Bricks, you've seen a fair amount of highs and lows, including the resurgence that the category has seen in the last quarter. That's actually shown better results than the previous quarters, obviously. But it's been a journey like never before in terms of highs and lows. How would you describe that journey to us?
Well, the journey has indeed been a roller coaster, no doubt about that. And I think what this pandemic has done, it has been a soul searcher for everyone, and it has been an eye opener as well. Soul searcher because as individuals, we have all been used to looking at and planning our work, life, everything in a certain manner, in a probably a linear fashion. And this disruption has made us realize that a lot of those things that were taken for granted, a lot of those things that were planned in keeping in mind a certain long term or medium term horizon, actually probably can mean nothing in these circumstances, right? We have all been putting those force majeure conditions in our contracts with all our partners, and little realizing that you would ever have to implement such conditions, and we have had to do that in many cases because the business was absolutely in dire situation immediately after the pandemic broke out, right? Also, the fact that we have been reading about lots of crises that we have gone through as humanity, as a society over a period of time. And especially in business books, we had been reading about the crisis of 1930s, the Great Depression of 1930s, and we have all been talking about what could one have done during that period, or what is the best way to mitigate such challenges. Little realizing that in our lifetime we'll have to go through that and put all that theory into practice. So indeed, soul searching journey. It has made us realize that a lot of things that one had got built up over a period of time, a lot of things which probably were not as meaningful, but were done, as a matter of convention or as a matter of practice, etc., could be done away with, and life will still be the same. And those things have huge implications on business, and as well as on personal life, and it has been completely life changing, and it has made everyone realize that the boundaries between long term, short term, all these things have got dramatically blurred now. And we have seen dramatic shift in consumer behavior. We have seen macroeconomic conditions changing very, very dramatically. We have seen massive lows and ups and downs. None of this was we were prepared for. Nobody was prepared for all of this, right? And this has also been a very interesting phase because this challenge also pushed a lot of professionals to search for answers for questions that they never prepared themselves with, right? So you had to literally think on your feet, given a crisis. And this crisis were monumental crisis. It was not small crisis. And you had to think on your feet. It pushed you to be nimble. It pushed you to probably reinvent yourself in lot many cases, and find newer solutions or newer ways of doing things. So very, very challenging, and at the same point of time, extremely interesting phase. Extremely interesting phase.
Thank you for an extremely honest and candid perspective on the past few months. I think you put it beautifully when you said soul searching. Soul searching, more often than not, also leads to revisiting purpose. So, how is that journey for you on revisiting purpose from both a brand lens as well as from a personal lens?
See, from a brand's point of view, purpose has always been, the part of the core of the brand. And I think any brand needs to have a sense of purpose to exist anyway. The question is uh, where a lot of brand having real purposes, and where they're staying true to those purposes or not. Maybe pre-pandemic, a lot of those things were taken for granted and not much was being done. Though consumer attitude was shifting for quite some time, and the emerging consumer, which is a far more learned consumer, which is a far more experienced consumer, and which is a far more aware consumer, has been demanding purpose from brands. And this trend was observed internationally across, where every brand was trying to find its purpose if they did not have one yet, or trying to realign the purpose with changing times. What COVID has done is it has forced brands to relook at their core and try to identify the reason why they should exist in the life of the consumer. Because consumers today, after this crisis, I think, are wiser a lot. And uh, while they would continue to consume categories, they would continue to consume brands, but I think they'll be far more aware of what and what not that they should be doing. As you said, that soul searching has happened at an individual level as well. So, is a consumer very, very environmentally conscious today, and therefore would want to not associate with a brand which does not stand for uh, uh, a clean environment or a clear purpose over there. So there are a lot of these kind of questions. The trend towards natural, going natural, was there for quite some time, and it had its own linear curve and velocity with which it was moving. But post this pandemic, I think there is a lot of soul searching that has happened in that cohort as well, and there is an accelerated shift that is being seen across there. So purpose is something that a consumer will strongly demand from brands today, and if brands have one, they better need to demonstrate it and stay true to it. If they do not have one, they need to quickly find that out. In our case, uh, we had a very strong purpose from the very beginning, which was to simplify real estate for consumers, right? And we always stood for transparency. We always stood for technology, and we always stood for technology-driven convenience and changes and growth of the industry and of the category, and bringing all those values to the consumer. And that's what consumer has been looking forward to over a period of time. I don't think pandemic really shifted that attitude or that demand. So from our perspective, our purpose to simplify it for all our consumers remains true, and we continue to work on that. On a personal level, yes, I think it does make you relook at things and find a new meaning or a new purpose to life. One has been part of a certain structured way of building your life, or living your life. Get born, get educated, get a job, start contributing, be a part of that contribution consumption society. And over a period of time, when your consumption is over, then you kind of move on in life in a certain manner. This crisis has disrupted that equation. I think a lot of people like me are questioning the very intent and reason of living life in this manner. And is this really the true meaning or purpose of life, or is there something beyond that, given the crisis that is in front of us? And so that soul searching, I think, will continue for everyone individually, and everyone will find their own answers, wherever they settle. But yes, purpose is now at the absolute forefront, whether it's personal or it's professional part of life that you're leading.
Biggest disruption that has happened in all our lives that hasn't happened in the past, I would say, is digital disruption. It's actually, we've not had an option but to actually change the way we consume as consumers in terms of content, or the way we actually live our lives. How is this digital disruption that has come about in a way it has never before changed things for you as a marketer today?
Digital has been on the anvil for years now, and it's been the medium of the future, and the talked about disruptor for quite some time. It did disrupt a lot of categories pre-pandemic as well, and we all saw the power and potential of that. I think the real disruption that has happened because of the pandemic is the use case of digital has gone up dramatically. Earlier, the use cases were limited to few categories, to few industries, and to few consumer cohorts. the pandemic has forced a whole lot of consumers who were not digitally consuming things, either products or services, to do so. And that has led to a dramatic shift in behavior, attitude, and the way they have started looking at brands and messaging and everything around that. So digital has changed everything now. Digital is now part of mainstream. Digital is no longer another medium to consume. Digital is now way of life, and that's the biggest difference that has happened, and shift that has happened. Right? Nobody is now thinking twice before doing things online, or before looking at finding a solution, which is a non-contact delivered solution. So and that is going to have its impact. That's going to have its impact in the way businesses are conducted. That's going to have its impact in the way services are delivered to consumers, and also in the way brand is going to be built. The second part of your question, which was all about how digital as a medium will be consumed, and as a marketeer, how has that mix changed? uh, Talking about where I am and my current assignment, we are an internet brand. So we are a technology born brand. So digital has never been an additional medium for us. Digital is the way of life for us, has been a way of life for us. So to that extent, not much has changed. But yes, indeed, as a marketer, I can tell you what I was doing 10 years ago and what I do today. There's not even 2% of commonality. Okay. The way I was looking at, narrative development, the way I was looking at insight mining, the way I was looking at conversations, the way I was looking at, modes of delivery of messaging and communication and services, they are absolutely different. We are in a different world today. Okay, so one decade has already brought about that kind of a change. Post pandemic, we are going to look at an accelerated pace of change. So what happened in a decade is probably going to happen in next 2 years in terms of its changes. We already have a lot of automation coming into business. We already have a lot of new concepts like machine learning and artificial intelligence coming into, and these are no longer technologies of future. These are no longer about trying to find a use case for them. They are already here, and they are going to profoundly change things 2 years within next 2 years. Marketing has changed. Marketing mix has changed. Uh, uh, One obvious and very visible outcome of the pandemic has been that across categories, advertisers have realized the true power of digital as a medium. And not that anything new has been learned per se, not that marketers were not aware that digital could do things. Probably consumers had not adopted digital in the manner the way they have adopted now. And so in that sense, marketers have a much larger opportunity using digital as a medium today. So for example, augmented reality as a technology solution has been there for quite some time, at least a decade. Okay, and in retail, in a lot of other categories, there were always use cases where using AR you could have brought a product to life, and your store sales experience could have been very, very different, for example. But it was being used sporadically, as use cases here and there, and that's about it. Now, one of the big changes that has happened is the pandemic has forced, because everyone has to stay indoors and use the screen to reach out to a product, and vice versa. A lot of those technologies have come at the forefront and have become the main way of delivering your messaging, and the main catalyst to deliver a newer experience to consumers. So expenditure on digital, therefore, obviously has gone up, right? So spends on digital has gone up. I was reading a report a couple of days ago somewhere where digital is set to surpass the television revenues this year in India, right? The digital spends are set to surpass television spends. Now, that's a dramatic shift, because keep in mind, both television and digital happen to be captive mediums, right? You also do not need to go out of your home to consume television. They are very much within your home, right? But the way digital has entered your life, it has eaten out of probably that hour that you are spending on television, and you are spending that from a TV screen to a different screen now, those many hours, and or a part of those hours, and try to gain newer experiences, right? And and that opens up a huge area of opportunity for marketers. So one of the fundamental shifts on in brand building and marketing has been this massive adoption of digital. Spends on digital has gone up. Media mix to that extent has changed. But having said that, while I say all of that, uh, I would also caution that it's not about writing off any media. It's not about saying that television or print or out of home and so on and so forth have marginally lower roles to play, or they are not as important in the scheme of things. That's not the point, right? The point is uh, what a marketer will do now is very closely evaluate the media mix, very closely evaluate the reason for using a particular medium, and then decide accordingly what you wish to do, because now you have an option of a new media that has come to you, which probably can deliver the same reach, which probably can deliver the same impact. It can probably deliver maybe higher frequency. It can increase your opportunity to see, and whole lot of other brand metric that one would be measuring. All of a sudden, that gets disturbed, and a new media is letting you relook at all of that. So to that extent, yes, things are going to change. Spends will be there. Spends will be there across all mediums. Every brand will have their own reason, their own consumer cohorts to cater to, and accordingly. But one reality will remain is that no matter which category you are in, what brand you are leading, what consumer cohort you are looking at, you cannot escape digital.
What are some of the interesting trends you've seen in the past few months, or an entire paradigm shift you've seen in this entire category in the past few months?
Yes, there has been a paradigm shift in the category. Uh, to begin with, and to start with consumers, I think consumer uh, behavior has undergone a shift. If you look at the way a consumer interacts with the category today, that's that's very different from the way a consumer was trying to interact with the category earlier. And just to highlight with an example, we had seen that a consumer, there was already about 75% of consumers who were coming online at least once during their properties buying journey. Okay, and that's the stats from before COVID interruption that happened. Okay, so that trend was always there. I think what consumers started doing during COVID and post COVID, and this new trend that we are seeing, is one, the reason, the purpose for which they would have wanted to invest in property. That purpose has undergone some sort of a shift. Okay, uh, the way they were approaching this entire process, that process seems to have undergone a slight shift. Their requirements, their likes, and their needs seems to have undergone a bit of a shift. Okay. One interesting stat. So during the pandemic, we did 3 rounds of consumer sentiment surveys. Okay, and we reached out to our own consumer base, and we administered questions to really get their sense on where they are and what are they thinking. Okay, immediately after pandemic, in the month of April, when we conducted this survey, a lot of consumers were very unsure of future, and they didn't know what was going to come. They were insecure about their jobs. They were not looking at really investment in any category, more so in real estate in immediate future. Those who were looking at wanted to postpone that, for some period, and so on and so forth. So all in all, it was a phase where there was a lot of anxiety. And that clearly came out, that anxiety was ruling the way consumers were looking at things. This was one of the reasons why we also came out with those communication that we spoke about, because we realized that we have to reassure consumers and we have to handhold them. We again did a survey in the month of July, and we figured out that one shift that has happened is that the anxiety around jobs kind of had settled down, because people were clear now whether they will have a job or they will not have a job, right? I mean, that uncertainty was not there. So, if you did not have a job, it was clear to you. You were looking at a challenging time. If you were retaining your job, it was clear for you to you that things are right now stable to an extent, right? Now that had its impact in terms of what they were looking for and how they were looking for. We saw a very interesting trend. All those consumers, we saw about 25 to 30% consumers actually exiting the category in the month of April, March and April. Those who were looking at investing in property had exited the category. They said for next 1 year, forget it. Okay. So the category had shrunk to 70% of its initial volume. Okay. By July, we realized that the category had gotten additional audiences, additional consumers who were entering the category for the first time, who had not been looking at property investment 3 months ago, but now are looking at property investment, thereby again swelling the top line. Okay. And increasing the universe. Now these new consumers were the ones who earlier were probably living in a rented accommodation or planned to continue living in a rented accommodation for quite some time, but the pandemic made them realize that it's far safer to have your own home or your own place than living in somebody else's place, because then you can make your own rules and you do not have to live by someone else's rules. Okay. And that made a lot of people realize that they need to be investing in their own, and that has increased the size of the category at the bottom, because a lot of these consumers were the so-called economy class consumers and affordable housing consumers, the way we call it in our category. But we also saw that a lot of consumers who were looking at investing before pandemic, and they stayed throughout the period, they did not want to incidentally compromise with their aspiration. So if they were looking at a 3-bedroom place and with certain amenities, they did not want to compromise on that, right? But they were facing new reality, and that new reality had pushed them to reduce their budgets. So earlier, if they planned to invest 1 crore of rupees in that property, now they had a budget of say 80 lakhs rupees or 75 lakhs rupees, right? But they did not want to compromise on the aspiration. So they were more than willing to move to slightly peripheral areas of the town rather than buying in the heart of the town or the suburb, right? So they were willing to make that compromise, but they were not wanting to, any which way compromise with their aspiration. Okay. Now, these were some interesting consumer behavior patterns that were emerging. Okay. And there were many around these, and we saw a lot of shift in the way a certain cohort was behaving before pandemic, and the way cohort was interacting or looking for after the pandemic, right? So there have been dramatic shifts. There have been some fundamental shifts as well. The way consumers have been interacting with the category, the way consumers want to. The other thing was adoption of technology. So, in real estate, because it's such a touch and feel category, as a consumer, one of the essential rituals that you had to perform while investing in a property was to do a site visit, right? So you would go to a site where the construction is happening, you will go through a sample flat or, some sort of a structure that a developer has put together, and basis that you'll make your decision. Okay, that will give you a sense of quality, that will give you a sense of, belongingness to that place, and a lot of those things. We realized that for a lot of these consumers, there was a very, very surprising acceptance of technology delivering some of those experiences, which we never thought would happen, right? So a lot of consumers were willing to do a video call and go through a project or a sample flat on a video call shown by a developer, for example, and make their decisions basis that. Okay, and rather therefore avoiding a physical visit to the place or the site. Okay, Now, this was a massive shift, because this was one of the essential rituals, that a consumer had to go through as part of their journey. And this also prompted, therefore, a lot of new solutions driven by technology, and new products coming out in the market, including us launching solutions for developer partners and consumers, where a lot of things could be done using video chat and video call, and a lot of things. So if you see how the way the business was conducted before the pandemic had happened, and the way the business is conducted now, there is a clear shift, both in consumer behavior as well as in the way experiences are being delivered and the way decision is being made, right? And I think with this adoption, there is one more thing that has not happened in real estate specifically, which is transactions happening online, right? The transactional part of the business all still happens offline, where you would want to sit across the table, you want to do your negotiations, and so on and so forth, right? And you're not very comfortable paying a lump sum large money through online transaction. And so this was not a established use case, this was not established behavior. But this adoption of digital, where you are no longer, you have shed that inhibition of using digital for doing a lot of things that you thought you would not want to do, including buying vegetables and learning guitar, for example, right? These are small examples, but they have profound impact on you, because it's about your belief, it's about the way your mindset is made. Now all these changes probably will result in tomorrow, where we'll see part of transactions or transactions completely moving online. Okay, which means you are not far from a day where real estate journey will be an end-to-end online journey. A real estate investment journey will be an end-to-end online journey for a consumer, right? And that's the future we all are looking at, and that's the profound change we see happening across it, specifically if I talk of this category.
Past few months, we've seen an interesting gamut of things from the brand, whether it is integrations, collaborations, of also film that touches your emotional chords with life after lockdown, humor with Gulabo Sitabo. What do we expect from the brand going forward?
Well, you'll expect all of that and much more. We have been a very aggressive marketing organization, and we believe in a marketing philosophy which is called heartbeat marketing, which is all about data-driven insight and emotional storytelling coupled with built on that insight. Now, you gave some of the examples. The point was during the pandemic, you would have expected the brand to lie low, because obviously the demand in the category had almost evaporated for some time, and and to come back when the when the opportune moment comes. But our take on marketing is very different. We believe marketing is a lot about consistency. Marketing is a lot about constant engagement and communication with consumers. And I think this is something that the category had been lacking for quite some time. If you look at real estate as a category, there are two key stakeholders who advertise or who reach out to consumers. One is developers, other is platforms like us. Okay. Now, developers typically had been very conservative, and they would want to talk to a consumer only when they have a new project to sell. And once the job is done, they are like, Tata, thank you. And there's no need to have a conversation anymore, right? And you would not see a typical consumer lifecycle management process running there, where you are constantly looking at the consumer and trying to see how you can play a meaningful role in the life of the consumer even after the sale has happened. On the other hand, platform businesses like us have been far more aggressive and far more frequent when it comes to talking to consumers. But there has been seasonality and a lot of other factors that has been at play. We have been breaking a lot of rules, a lot of trends. We were the first brand way back in 2017 when I had launched our Property Ka Supermarket campaign. This was for the first time that a female protagonist was part of the lead of the story. Till then, all the imagery related to real estate was a masculine imagery. It was the man of the house who was doing the house hunting, searching, blah, 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 and all those kind of things. With that campaign, we decided to change that completely. And we realized that 50% of the population, and a lot of them, and this was not just a typical gut feel. It was coming out of data. We saw that a large percentage of searches that were happening on my platform were females doing the searches, right? Uh, when the pandemic happened, the first casualty, obviously, everyone else, like everywhere else, has been marketing, and where the budgets were slashed next to zero, and we were waiting for revenues to recover before we could come back. But we didn't want to stay silent, and we said, what can we do to still keep talking to our consumers? They may not be in a frame of mind to invest right now, or to invest, or to buy or do transaction, etc. But that should not stop us from having a conversation. Uh, uh, and and uh, and so we did a lot of initiatives. Gulabo Sitabo was an opportunity because Ayushmann is our brand ambassador, and that movie was coming, and that was the first OTT release of a Bollywood movie. And we also wanted to experiment with that. We also wanted to see how well that is received. Is OTT really the future? And what kind of metric it moves? Does it deliver you the ROI? And a lot of those questions that we generally try to answer.
It brings a smile to your face.
Oh yes, because I was quite, in a way, also surprised to see that the metrics that we're chasing were all met during that period. And this is, I'm talking about the phase of April, May, when the lockdown was still on, and the pandemic impact was at its maximum. Okay. uh, and we said, okay, fine, if that be so, consumers are not uh, uh, it's not that pandemic makes a consumer not to interact with a brand. It's not that they do not want to talk to a brand. They may not be in a frame of mind to purchase, frame of mind to close the sale with you, but they very much want to talk to you. They very much want to understand what you are up to, what you are doing, and how can you help them. And I think in times of crisis, consumers look up to the brands, because brands are living entities, and consumers naturally look up to brands to handhold them and advise them what to do, rather than just trying to hard sell yourself. And that's what we intended to do. And so we shifted our narratives. We said, this is not the time to interact with the consumer with sales proposition, and to essentially ask them to buy. It's a time to really have a conversation with them. It's really time to identify ourselves with them and let them identify themselves with us. And so we were looking at data, and again, driven out of data, we realized that and this was social data. We realized that a lot of consumers were talking about how life has changed once they have got locked inside their home. And that made us realize that, listen, a lot of these consumers like you and me are spending so much time at our home, almost 24/7, 365 in a way, uh, probably for the first time in our lives. We never stay in our home 24/7, right? We spend 10 hours of our home outside our home, right? And being forced to inside home, you probably were looking at the nooks and corners of your home probably for the first time. You never had paid attention to a lot of those things, right? And staying at home made you realize all of that, and it made you realize a lot many more things. It made you realize, oh, wish, when I was planning, I would have bought a home with a larger balcony, so that I could have done my yoga sitting here, or my kids could have played, because they can't go out or they can't go downstairs. Okay. Or I probably could have invested in one extra room, so that my work from home could run from there, and so on and so forth, right? So there were a lot of realizations that happened. Okay. And we also realized that a lot of chatter was happening on social, which was about how you would want to upgrade, if given a choice to something, which is going to better prepare you, right? And that gave us this interesting creative idea of ghar pe reh ke ghar ko dekha. And we converted that into a conversation with consumers, and that was so well received. This video went viral in no time, some 10 million odd views, without any kind of paid push to it. And
Beautiful piece of content, beautiful story. The first time I saw it again. Like it had a beautiful connect.
that's right. And it just reminded me of something, right? It reminded me that brand building fundamentally has not changed. right? It remains the same. The core to brand building, is having a strong core of the brand with purpose and positioning. It is about emotive, effective storytelling. It is about consistency. It is about reinvention and being relevant to consumers. All those fundamentals remain the same, right? Uh, all you need to do is to contextualize it to the times that you are operating in, right? And we captured that, and that was very well received. And that's a little proof that crisis or no crisis, if the brand has a meaningful conversation for a consumer and with a consumer, the consumer is always willing to consume. The consumer is always willing to listen to you. I think most of the times in the cacophony of the entire clutter, this sense gets lost. You tend to shout louder to be heard, and this pandemic made us realize as a brand that it's not important to shout as loud or try to do that anymore. Go back to the roots, go back to basics, do some good storytelling, be genuine, have some meaningful conversation with consumers, and consumers will listen to you. And that's been the big learning. And I think that's a fundamental shift, because uh, tomorrow, if I have to think of another narrative and another conversation with consumers, I will question myself: do I really need to do an expensive TVC this time? And and get into the regular razzmatazz of 30 seconds conversation, or I have newer opportunities now where I can do more contextual, meaningful, insights-driven conversation, which may not be as glamorous, but we may be as effective and probably more effective than what we have been doing traditionally, and that will have profound impact on the way we are going to do things.
Tell us more about the person behind the CMO. Who is Prasoon Kumar when he is not the marketing head of Magic Bricks?
Uh, when I am not the CMO, I am a performer, and I perform through various art forms. I perform through acting, I perform through sketching and painting. Uh, I am also an environmentalist at heart. So I am a lot into gardening and other environmental issues and activities. These are the things that keep me occupied. I Music is close to my heart, so I play a few instruments. These are the things that I do, and by using a lot of these things, I try to be a doting father to my two kids and a doting husband to my wife, and a son who my parents can be proud of. And these are the things that drive me when I'm not a CMO, and they have an impact on what I do as a CMO as well.
That's beautifully said, because a little of everything is what we see when we see what comes out of the brand. So I think that's totally kind of merged in beautifully.